our IGTV. I am Blanca.
I'm Brandon, and today we're going to talk about what's in our bag, from the lenses, cameras, all the way down to the memory cards. This is one of our most frequently asked questions, so we thought we'd hop on here and answer them.
We are hoping to use our IGTV channel to do exactly that, to help educate. We get a lot of questions regarding posing and camera gear, so we thought that IGTV would be a really awesome place to do exactly that and give you guys all of the info that we can.
First, let's talk about the camera bodies we use. We love Canon. We both shoot on a Canon 5D Mark IV, and then we have a backup Canon 5D Mark III.
And we love our Canons because the color is just to die for. Our Canon 5D Mark IVs definitely shoot a lot warmer than our Mark III, but we love that because it works for our style, it works for our post-process. We do still, like Brandon said, use our 5D Mark III as a backup.
Harsh light.
Yes, and we do use it in harsh light over our Mark IVs. I don't really know why. It just, the highlights, the way, if we have harsh light, the way the 5D Mark III captures the highlights, we're able to like kind of minimize them a little bit in post-process with harsh light. So 5D Mark IVs, 99% of the time, and then if we have like a tough ceremony spot or any time where we have to shoot like midday in harsh light, we actually prefer our 5D Mark III. All right, guys, so we're gonna move on to lenses next.
We're going to talk about Blanca's favorite lens, which is the 50mm prime lens from Canon. And a prime lens is all glass, so it adds a little weight to it.
Yeah, and for prime lenses, if you guys have never used a prime lens before, yes, they are heavier like Brandon said, but they also don't change focal point length, which means, you know, we'll get into our zoom lenses later, but for our prime lenses, this lens is going to make you a little more mobile, which we actually think is an awesome thing. We feel like it was a turning point for us in our posing because it forced us to get closer to our couple and have more intimate shots with them, as well as having to get further away and use the landscape, versus when you have a zoom lens, you can kind of just stay stationary. You don't have to move too much, which is not always a bad thing, but I feel like the 50mm really kind of pushes you to be a little more intimate with your couples and have to be more creative with posing as far as the distance that you physically travel. And like Brandon said, this is my favorite lens. It never comes off my camera body. I love this lens. The color on it is amazing. The focus on it is incredible. The bokeh is great.
Great lens overall.
It's a great lens overall, and this is the lens that if we have a photographer who's maybe starting off or they're kind of trying to like build their lens collection, this is the lens that we say if you have the ability to invest in it, this is the lens to invest
Definitely
in.
Start
There's
off.
3 steps up. Like if you guys know Canon products, they kind of have a 3-tier system as far as obviously price point as well as the quality of the glass. So if I'm not mistaken, I think Canon goes like the strips that are on this lens. See how this one's red? The strips will start at a silver level and then a gold level, and then they'll move up to this red level. And so our whole like idea of how we invest in lenses is we want these lenses to last us years. So we never personally have bought any type of lens or glass that wasn't the highest we could get for that purpose.
Invest once instead of
Exactly. In the long run, it saves you money. We just feel like overall, we've had this, we'll get to this lens, this zoom lens, but we've had that zoom lens for 6 years. It doesn't need to be replaced because the glass is so great and reliable. So yeah, that's our 50mm, our go-to. We love this lens. If you don't know where to start with investing lenses, this guy.
Next, we're going to move on to my favorite lens, which is the Canon 70-200 zoom lens.
That lens is so heavy. If you've never used this lens before and you're a single shooter and you use the vest for holding both of your camera bodies and lenses at the same time, this guy is super heavy. It's easy to like clonk into people and objects, but this lens is incredible. Brandon uses it probably 90% of the time out of the two of us because he loves it so much.
And the reason I love it so much is because it gives you a great variety of shots. And it's really important when I'm working with Blanca, or if anyone works with 2 photographers. I never get in a shot with this, so I could go from behind her to the sides, zoom in, get closer up without actually getting in her shot. and disrupting it.
Yeah, if you are a photographer who is either a second photographer or the lead photographer or your husband and wife team, whatever your situation is where you are working on a wedding day or even a session where you have two different two different photographers that are shooting simultaneously, one of the biggest hurdles is making sure that you communicate well enough so that you're not in each other's shot. And Brandon, spot on, when he uses this lens, that's never an issue, because I'm usually, like I said, I'm on my 50mm prime lens, so I'm at whatever distance I need to be for my couple, whether it's close, far away, but whatever shot Brandon is working on, he can zoom in that lens to a 200mm focal point and he can get as close as he needs to be without physically moving his feet. So it's such a great tool for anyone who works as a duo, as well as just if you're looking for a variety of images, especially on a wedding day. Same thing for like a wedding ceremony. You can get a 50mm focal point all the way up to a 200mm focal point, literally without moving your feet. So we are going to jump into our zoom lenses next.
We have a 24-105 and a 16-35mm.
These lenses we did not invest in first. And that was kind of just a personal preference thing. There's no right or wrong way to invest in lenses. What we will say is that we didn't start off shooting weddings. For us, years ago, we started off doing headshots. And so for us, having wide angle lenses was not a piece of equipment that we necessarily needed. But as the years passed and we started moving into the wedding space, these were 100% necessary.
Added to our collection.
And even though we actually don't use them that much, we could not shoot a wedding day without them. There are getting ready spaces that are tiny, hotel rooms, even some Airbnbs have really tight quarters. So these come in handy. They're really good for family photos, wide angle photos,
group shots,
just anything that takes up a lot of space, whether it's a reception, a ceremony spot. These are really nice. We do not use them too much in portrait sessions, but like I said, we could not shoot a wedding day without them. They are ideal.
And something we have on all of our camera lenses is a camera lens filter, and they're just go right on top.
Just screws on.
And they're awesome because they protect your camera lens. So we haven't had it happen to us, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But we know other people who have had, like, they hit it and it breaks the lens instead, the lens filter instead of the lens, actually. So a lot cheaper to replace one of those rather than your whole camera.
Exactly, yeah. And they do make some of them, I'll show you again. They do make some that are like UV filter lenses, and they can, I think some of them even go down to like 3 or 4 f-stops darker than what your camera lens is. But these that we have are just clear. There's kind of a glare on it. But they're clear. We have not noticed a discoloration on them. I will link them in all of our info. These are the Hoya ones, I'm pretty sure. And we have no complaints. We love these. They've lasted us years. And we don't have any lens that we own that does not have that on it.
And we have backups we carry all the time.
Yeah, so if you guys are investing in lenses, God, I want to say these are like $90, $100.
Somewhere in that range, depending on what the size of the lens is. Like,
exactly.
This one's a little bit wider.
Yeah, but regardless of when you're investing in a lens, spend the extra $100 and get this filter, because it's just going to pretend the life of your lens. You're not going to have scratches. When you send it off for like a warranty update, they're never going to have to replace the real glass. So they're definitely necessary.
Big time saver. Our other lens that we have that hasn't came back from cleaning yet is a 100mm macro lens.
And we will link that for you guys. We actually, that was the last lens that we have invested in recently. And we only use it for detail shots on wedding days. I know that there are a lot of photographers out there that do shoot portrait sessions with the 100mm. Like I said, I'm a snob with my 50mm, so I only really shoot our portrait sessions with that. So we only utilize the 100mm for our detail shots. We love it. It's incomparable. It just is so creamy and dreamy. And we're just able to get creamy dreamy. We're just able to get ideal photos of all of our brides' jewelry and ring shots, and just those like finite details that tell your story on a wedding day is what we use that lens for. But we don't have it here, but we will link it for you guys, the one that we have. What we did want to touch on is this little extension tube that, again, we will link for you guys. This is what we used up until 2 years ago.
Can you show how it works?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. Brandon will kind of give you guys a rundown of how it works while I chat about it. So we, a few years ago did not really have the budget to want to invest in our 100 millimeter macro. Like I said, we only use it for 45 minutes on a wedding day. So for a while we were using these extension tubes, and it was kind of mind blowing how awesome of results we could get with them. They are very difficult to get used to. I will say that it took us a lot of practice, but as you can see, Brandon has our 50 millimeter on, and that was the lens that we really used mostly for our extension tubes, but it just goes right onto the back of your lens. You turn the extension tube on that, and we'll talk about the different millimeters, but you turn it on and then you attach that attachment right to your camera body. So it's almost like you're just adding a little piece in between your lens and your camera body. And there's 3 different millimeters that the one that we have
the 12
comes with.
Then we have a 20. And then lastly, a 36
millimeter. And the way that they kind of work is they just, if you've ever shot on a prime lens before, you know that if you get too close to an object, you will not be able to focus anymore. It'll just be blurry. You can try to press your focus as much as you want. Not going to happen. So this extension tube, what it does is it allows you to get nice and close to those detail shots so that you can get the really clear images of rings, earrings, even maybe if you want to go in close on like a flower. But these extension tubes, if you're balling on a budget, which we all are, especially when you're trying to build your collection of, gear, these are so fantastic. If you're debating, getting the 100 millimeter, but you're not sure if you're ready to invest because it is a pretty penny, this is such a good option. We can't recommend it enough. It lasted us probably 2 years before we invested in our 100 millimeter macro. So I will link this for you guys.
It's only $100 too.
And I think we got it off Amazon.
Yeah.
Which was kind of crazy. But yeah, we will link this for you guys. This was something that we used at the beginning and we loved it.
Next, we're going to move on to the flashes. We have 2 430EX 3 RTs.
We don't use flash often. We are natural light photographers, but we do use those, like we mentioned, on wedding days quite a bit. Anytime we have reception shots or we're in a low lit area for getting ready room, those definitely come in handy. So we do always pack extra batteries because they do eat up batteries
like crazy.
Pretty quick. But yeah, we love them. We can't say anything bad about these flashes. They're reliable. We've never had any issues with them, and we've had those for a few years now, and we love them.
Yep.
Okay, guys, we are going to move into our last piece of equipment, and it's this guy. So this is actually kind of funny. We had not started using this until January of this year, January 2020. And this is like straight up the most underrated item ever. It's just a fanny pack. I think this one's Herschel brand. It is absolutely life-changing. It has made our wedding day so much easier. If you are a wedding photographer, you know that carrying your bags with all of your lenses and equipment on the wedding day is really difficult. It gets super heavy, your back gets tired, and you still need items on your hip at all time, whether it's batteries for your flash, whether it's memory cards. And so Brandon just wears this on the side of his hip. He pulls it off like crazy because I know I can't. And it's just awesome. So instead of having to carry all of our bags, we just have all that stuff in it. We have a battery holder. We'll link that for you. We have a memory card holder that just holds all of our stuff. And it's right on Brandon's body at all times, which is just, like I said, it's a game changer because no matter where we are, we're always in close proximity to each other, and we can always run to the bag and just unzip it, grab what we need, and just be done instead of sprinting back to our gear that's usually like at the DJ booth or something, or even just having, again, to carry our bags on our shoulders. If you don't use a fanny pack, It is a game changer.
Something to invest in, maybe. And that's pretty much all of our equipment from start to finish. If you guys have any other questions about additional equipment or something that maybe we've tried before, go ahead and DM us.
We are going to be making more IGTVs. Like I said, this is a question that we got a lot, so we figured that we would address it just because we get it quite frequently. So if there are other questions that you have, we would love to know so that we can make videos about them. And yeah, I think that's it.